Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we are playing a deck that I first built on the channel a little while ago and it went pretty well, and since then there's a few people who've been innovating on it and playing it and really enjoying it, so I'm glad that my brew could open a door for somebody, and now we're going to go back to it with a few little changes. I will put a link in the description to the last time I played this deck when I brewed it up, in case you want to have a look at that. But this is Painter's Black Mirror. So, as you can imagine, we are a Painter combo deck. So we have 4 Painter's Servants and 3 Grindstones. So we can do the whole Painter's Grindstone thing. We've got a bunch of mana to power this out. So Mox Opals, Lotus Petals, LEDs, Dark Rituals. These can all power these things out super early and just say you win the game. Because this mills over 2 cards from your opponent's library. If they are the same colour, you repeat the process. And Painter's Servant makes them all the same colour. So we just repeat the process until they have no library. So that's the way we're going to be winning a lot of our games. And we have Urza's Saga to back this up, which can also just get us some useful threats to beat down with. Make some more artifacts and things to like turn on Metalcraft. And then it can tutor for our Grindstone, or it can tutor for a Soulguide Lantern if they've got something like an Emrakul that we need to stop shuffling into their deck each time. So we can just mill them out in one go. So that's kind of that half the deck. And we're backing that up with 4 Thoughtseize, 4 Duress, and a Cabal Therapy. However, we've got this other portion of the deck here in this Tendrils of Agony, Gaea's Will line. So what we can do here is do a bunch of fast mana like Ritual, Petals, Opals, LEDs, whatever, and then just cast Beseech the Mirror, getting Gaea's Will, replay all these things, replay the Beseech the Mirror, cast Tendrils, and just storm our opponent out. So we have an alternative win condition that dodges creature removal, which is pretty handy. We also have Infernal Tutor to power along with this, which is really good with the Lion's Eye Diamond. So that's pretty much known technology, really. But we're kind of skewing together 2 things that don't normally go together in decks, but I don't see why not. It looks pretty good to me. And we have 2 new additions to the deck. We're running 2 copies of the One Ring, which was suggested to me by people who've been playing this deck since I built it up and having a good time with it. So obviously this is a pretty awkward printing of this I happen to have, but there we go. So this is another thing that we can go and fetch with Beseech the Mirror if we're on low resources, just to like go and get ourselves a fog, because we do cast it with Beseech the Mirror. So this can get us a fog, get us a few cards deeper into our deck, and, you know, snowball things out. Or if we're on low resource and we just need some gas, we can just go and get this as gas. So that's kind of the plan here. The differentiations from the last list that we played are we're not running the Ad Nauseam that we previously had. Apparently, like it was never really good for us before. Beseech the Mirror kind of does similar things but better a lot of the time. And people who've been testing this deck more, they also agree that it shouldn't be in here, so it's gone. That helped make room for the One Rings. I can't remember what else we cut as well, but we've added in the Shadowspear in the main deck where it was previously in the sideboard. I think I lost a game before for not having the main deck Shadowspear. And I think it's just a useful tool to have and kind of offsets the One Ring, so we can go a fair Urza Saga One Ring plan, which is a pretty good way of winning the game, especially when we can back up with a whole bunch of artifacts. So we're kind of drawing a little bit from Saga Storm, a little bit from the Epic Storm in some ways, and obviously we got Painter Technology too. So that's the main deck. We're going to be trying to win the game pretty quick time. We got a few turn 1s last time, I seem to recall. Sideboard-wise, I've changed things up slightly. So we have one Sheoldred as another Beseech the Mirror target, so this can be useful against some decks. Like, if we don't have stuff to win the game, we can maybe put this in play and stop a Doomsday player from being able to cycle through their deck. That might be quite useful. There's going to be a few other situations where you might want this. We've got some removal spells in the form of Feed the Swarm, alongside Dismember and Fatal Push. This may be too many things, but we'll see. We also have some Leyline the Void for Graveyard Hate, and we're running 1 Helm of Obedience, because if we board this in, we may as well have Beseech the Mirror into Helm of Obedience just to win the game with. That seems like a pretty fine thing to do. We have a couple more bits of hand disruption here as well, and that's about it. I did consider putting in a couple of defense grids, but our hand disruption is kind of going to perform a similar role, but I think maybe we could trim down on something like Feed the Swarm, maybe, to fit in a couple of defense grids. Uncertain about that. But there are definitely things that are annoying that we need to Feed the Swarm. Like, if our opponent has some sort of Leyline type action, we can't really get through that because Grindstone targets, Tendrils targets. So we have to get a fair win with Urza Saga beatdown. Not that many people are running that sort of effect, but it's something to think about. Alright, I think that's about it for the deck tech today, so we're just going to jump right in. Let's jam some Painter's Black Mirror. If you're looking to play Legacy on MTGO like me, why not try Card Hoarder? They're a rental service that I personally use, and I found them better than other rental services that I've used in the past. So why not give them a try? Our opening hand doesn't really go anywhere. We don't want Gaia's Will in our opener. We don't really want the Soulguide Lantern. We don't really have any starting mana. This seems like an easy and obvious mulligan to me. We have this, but we can throw this one away. What does our hand do here? So we can go turn 1, Saga, Petal, tap for 3, tap this for Dark Ritual, and we have this, that's 4 mana. Then we can Beseech the Mirror, sacrificing our Urza Saga, get us back the Gaia's Will if we want to. Then we can replay this, and then that doesn't really get us going anywhere, does it? But it doesn't need much for this hand. So I think we will keep this one. Will we keep this one? Like, we are kind of looking for a black mana source to really pop off. I think we can do better, actually. Let's just mulligan. Go for something a bit more. Okay, so we can play a fair game here and just kind of get our opponent on turn 3. I say fair. It's not the fairest thing to just kill your opponent on turn 3. But, so we keep probably a bit of hand disruption here. I don't think we need the second diamond here. And I guess we don't want the second painter. Alright, well, we'll lead off either with Thoughtseize or Saga. Probably Saga just so we can speed to our... Oh, okay, we're just going to get turn 1 here by Oops or Spells, I believe. We should have a pretty good matchup with this overall. Cabal Ritual. And the Seat Informer. Do they have the mana to pop this now? Or are they going to pop it next turn? They do have the mana to pop it now. Okay. We'll have a look at their build in case they've got anything weird or interesting going on. Undersea Informers, Pact of Negation. So they have the Reanimate. They have the Jack-O-Lantern. If you're not familiar with this one, lets them cycle so they can cycle mana into another colour. That's quite nice. No, nothing unusual there, really. Okay. So we've got some good tools for this in our sideboard. Notably, the Leyline of the Void is going to be pretty darn useful here. Other things that we can bring in is the Inquisitions, and the Helm of Obedience can be pretty good here too. This is not going to be a game where the One Ring is going to be a quick enough thing that we can do. Shadowspear is probably not going to be relevant here either. We're still looking for 4 more cuts though. That's quite a lot. Duress and Thoughtseize are fine. We can probably trim down on some of our Grindstone type stuff. We're either going to be able to get our opponent or we're not, sort of thing. So let's have 1 Grindstone and 2 painters left in the deck. We can always tutor for them when we want to. We have this that we can tutor for and just win most of the time because we're going to be looking for our Leyline and our openers. It's either Leyline or hand disruption. Our opponent doesn't really know what we're doing, so they're probably going to be boarding in something like Foundation Breaker. That's kind of a standard thing you board in if you don't know what you're playing against when you're playing the Oops or Spells deck with Summoner's Pact, because you get to be able to tutor for an answer to a lot of things. There's only 1 card you're boarding in, which gives you a lot of flexibility. We did mulligan to 5, so maybe they'll have a sort of red on being some sort of combo deck. So they could have some graveyard hit of their own, but we can just win with Urza Saga. So we have a good backup plan, whereas our opponent doesn't really. I have lost to the beatdown from Oops or Spells. That doesn't mean it's a good backup plan. So do I think Thoughtseize into Cabal Therapy and Thoughtseize is good? Not really. I think we can do better. Double Leyline is going to be hard for them to beat. We just need mana from this point. I think we will keep this one. It's a little on the sketch side, but I can dig it. We'll probably throw back this Beseech the Mirror, but this is quite a weird polarizing matchup where you very much need to have the things. And because they didn't see what we were doing in game 1, I think they only have 1 Foundation Breaker, so they might just scoop to double Leyline on turn 1. Now there is an option to have that they could have Force of Vigor, but would they have brought it in the blind? Probably not. I know the guide on the Discord for Oops or Spells doesn't recommend bringing it in the blind, so we should be pretty good with these double Leylines. Also, they are things to sacrifice to Beseech the Mirror if we get to that point. Alright. We need to find a mana source though. Any mana source puts this Soulguide Lantern into play, and that's 3 layers of protection we have. And then at some point we'll find a way of winning the game. Dark Ritual. They're going to go for the beatdown plan here. Undersea Informer. Sure. A Mox Opal. We will play this out. Unfortunately it doesn't do anything just yet. Right, so we're going to take 2 here. But we've got a lot of life to work with. Xantid Swarm. Alright, that's not really a thing we care about, the way our deck's configured. A Lotus Petal. This is kind of awkward. If we want to fire this off, it doesn't really help us out right now. So I think we just pass, because it will get us further away from Metalcraft just to get one spell off this turn. Whereas if we can find like a Vault of Whispers, then we're absolutely cooking. I will use a Lotus Petal to make an Urza Saga construct if that's an option we get. Interesting, it didn't attack with a swarm here. Cabal Therapy. What would you like to name? Beseech the Mirror, I imagine, is the name here. Could be wrong name. They can always just flash back with the anti-swarm here. The name's Infernal Tutor. Okay, so they're going to miss on the first one, but then they can flash it back and hit the Beseech. And that's going to be not the end of the world, because we're a long way off of doing anything. We haven't... I guess we actually... No, that's not true. We have the Helm of Obedience, right? So if they name the Beseech here, that can stop us from like just spiking a Dark Ritual into the kill. It's not quite the kill, but close. Right, they didn't go for it. Interesting. Oh wait, they didn't get to flash it back, do they? Because that's not how cards work. Because we have our Leylines in play. So I think we are still just on passing here. We just try and draw more mana and then we win the game. Vault of Whispers unlocks his hand quite nicely. Obviously not fully, and we'll still need to get a little bit more. But we've got a lot of turns before this Undersea Informer kills us. Foundation Breaker. What are they going to get rid of here? It might be the Lotus Petal. We'll see. It is the Lotus Petal. And just trying to keep us away from being able to cast Beseech the Mirror and win the game. But we've got a few turns. Any mana source is going to be good. There's a mana source. That's good. Let's play out this Saga Lantern. We do have to exile our own thing here, unfortunately. But we can use this as Metalcraft. We can also use this as a redraw if we get a little bit desperate later on. But this puts us very close to having 4 mana, because our Mox Opal is going to be on if we draw a Vault of Whispers, or Vault of Whispers is one of the best draws here, because that'll give us 3 mana total. But if we draw like any 0-drop artifact, it's all good too. Our opponent hitting the Lotus Petal has kind of bought them a bit of turn. Okay, this is not one we really want in hand, but that's fine. I don't want to fire off this Thoughtseize, but I'm okay firing off a Duress here. 2 life is the whole turn. Right, Balustrade Spy and a Sooner Spirit Guide. Nothing to worry about there. It's just these guys on the board. Just need to find some mana. Right, we're going to take 2 here. A Dark Ritual. This is 3 mana if we play it. It's not quite enough. We don't have the mana to Infernal Tutor for another Dark Ritual yet. But any mana gives us a win in 2 turns. Another Dark Ritual gives us a win. Any mana gives us a win next turn, actually, right? Because we can sacrifice one of our Leylines. So we'll have Metalcraft and turn on our Mox Opal when the Helm comes down. Alright, a Dark Ritual. Our opponent's got 3 cards in hand. We know 2 of them. They cannot force to Vigor us here. So we cast a Dark Ritual. Cast a Dark Ritual. Is there anything that can get us here? I guess we get a free... I suppose we can just bargain and still have the mana floating anyway. But we've got the Saga Lantern, so... we sacrifice one of these Leylines. We'll go and get the Helm of Obedience. I think we were supposed to actually do the Thoughtseize just in case. But they can do nothing here, right? They can't Memory's Journey, right? So they got nothing. Okay, so they're just dead to their draw. Excellent. So I think we just go back in with the same configuration. Our opponent now knows what we're doing, which is something. Or they have a better idea what we're doing. So their sideboarding is going to be slightly more on point. Do we care about our opponent's ability to mess with us? I don't think so. If we stop them winning, we can win the game somehow, as you saw in that one. We just need to stop them from being able to like turn 1 or 2 us. We've got a selection of lines that can just win us the game as and when. I think our opponent is probably going to be on a turn 1, so we're going to have to mulligan to find a Leyline. Right, we found a Leyline in a hand that is also good. That's pretty exciting to me. I think we throw back a Swamp. And we'll start with a Leyline. We have a turn 2 here. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, we have a turn... we have a turn 1 here, right? We play the Vault of Whispers. No, it's turn 2, right? We play the Vault of Whispers. Turn 2, we play the Swamp. We Dark Ritual, sack for the... tap this, sack this, crack the line side damage in response, get Helm, activate Helm. Right, our opponent is playing out a Lotus Petal, cracking it for a Dark Ritual, Undercity Informer. We're back to the beatdown again? Maybe, maybe not. Okay. Over to us. A bit of fast mana would have been a little bit nicer, but I will take what we have. Let's Inquisition our opponent. Going to Force of Vigor us now. That would be game. There is the Force of Vigor, pitching the Summoner's Pact, so we're not going to get anything useful here. They also took out our Vault of Whispers. Took out his Dread Cantor. Let's play this one out. Because, and yeah, our opponent can just crack this and do their combo. But the fact that we haven't conceded maybe gives them pause for thought. I think they still go for it. The deck doesn't really get any better by not going for it. But if we maybe sort of make them cowardly enough to not go for it now, because we haven't conceded, maybe we get to untap, draw the right thing and win the game. Alright, no, we're just dead here. Yeah, they haven't got anything in their graveyard that's going to in their exile zone that's going to stop them, so we are just dead here. All right, bit tough. We're against another super fast combo deck. I think on the play, we still lose this. No, it depends if we have any discard. I suppose we can keep different hands if we win the die roll there, but we basically have no chance of winning this game one unless we're on the play, and then we either Thoughtseize them or combo. So it's kind of like a die roll one really that we lost there. All right, let's go to round two. All right, what does our hand do here? So we have turn 1, Vault of Whispers, Grindstone. Turn 2, play out the Lotus Petal and the LED. Play Infernal Tutor for 2 mana. Crack this. That gives us 4 mana left open. So any mana off the top will give us the turn 2 kill. I think we can do that. Obviously we're exposed to various things, but that's kind of the nature of our combo deck sometimes. Powerful strategy that's sometimes difficult to interact with. Is nice to be. Our opponent did not do anything on their turn 1. I don't know if that was a mistake or not. I like drawing this swamp. Let's play this out. Our opponent didn't play anything. What are we supposed to think about that? Maybe they're going to be doing wheels. Some inscriptions, so we're going to play these out. But we don't have to worry about Thalia because they skipped their turn 1. I don't know if that was a misclick or they're a combo deck that's just waiting for a piece. Okay, definitely feels like they're a combo deck waiting for a piece. So I don't quite have the mana we need to go off right now. We are 1 mana shy. And if we do this and crack this, we still have enough to go off next turn, but we might as well just wait until next turn and keep our opponent in the dark a little bit. Obviously, it's pretty obvious what we're trying to accomplish. But if we go and get the Painter, they know they have to do something this turn. A Lotus Petal from our opponent. And just trying not to discard. What is in their hand? Beseech the Mirror. That is an interesting one. That's kind of less all in some ways, but because we need to use our Lotus Petal anyway, it's going to be our LED. It's going to be the same either way. Our Vault of Whispers. So you can go 1, 2. We crack this for 3 and cast an Infernal Tutor. I think if we cast the Beseech here, if it resolves, then we can do stuff with our LED afterwards. So I think this is slightly better to cast this one. So if we cast this, we're all in with this on the stack, whereas this, we can wait to see if this resolves first. We'll sacrifice this. We get a Painter's Servant. All right, they're scooping it up. They don't want us to see their library when we grindstone them. What deck doesn't do anything and then plays a Lotus Petal? Probably some sort of Storm deck, potentially. Or like a really weird Reanimator draw. I think I want these things. And I don't think I want the slow things like the One Rings. I don't think this is going to be a Shadowspear matchup. So we're kind of in a similar spot to how we were before. So we can trim a couple of Painters. Like maybe we don't want all these ley lines, but they are things we can freely pitch to Beseech. And it stops our opponent having Gaia's Will lines if that's something we're worried about. And then it's either one of the Grindstones or one of the Painters. I think I'm going to trim one of the Painters because Grindstone's at least 1 mana to turn on Mox Opals. And it's an easy thing we can play to then allow our Beseech the Mirror to go off. So I think having 2 of those is going to be better than having 3 Painters. What does this hand do? It disrupts. But it needs to find something. I think we're supposed to look for more action. Although we're on the draw. Maybe we're supposed to be slightly more reactive here. We have a lot of disruption. Right, I think I'm going to keep. If our opponent's mulliganing a lot, maybe they're an Echo of Eons deck. Let's smash this in. Volcanic Kind. This could be a Sneak and Show deck. Or it could be the Epic Storm. Which I believe runs one Volcanic. I think it's Volcanic, Tiger, Bayou Sea. Could be wrong on those, but I think that's the 4 lands they run. A Lion's Eye Diamond. Well, that's certainly doing some stuff for us. I think it's the Thoughtseize first. Dark Ritual, Opposition Agent, Brazen Borrower. Not massively bothered by the things I'm seeing here. Opposition Agent definitely does stuff against us. Our opponent's deck looks a lot fairer than I thought it was. I don't think they're going to be blowing our stuff up, but I don't want to play into Meltdown either. Interesting. It's a case of, are we playing around hand disruption, or are we playing around counter spells, or are we playing around Meltdown effects? Let's see what land they play this turn. Probably the Tarn. No, Polluted Delta. They're showing us what they have, and this means they want to access black mana. No Ponder is interesting. They're holding up the Petty Theft. Okay. I would like to play out a Lion's Eye Diamond. I would like to play out a Grindstone. I think I've sequenced this slightly off, actually. Play this Mox Opal out. Let's Inquisition our opponent because we know what they have here. We can take the Borrower or the Ponder here. We cast Borrower. Well, this could be Phoenix. Right, so they're probably going to bounce our Leyline because that's a 4-mana play, yeah. Right, so we're going to take this. Is it the Ponder or is it the Dark Ritual? This is actually kind of close. I think it's the Ponder. Like, if we've put them on Phoenix, we can just drop this Leyline next turn. And at some point they can just play Guys. They are a Dragon's Rage Channeler deck. That's only a 1-1 against a Leyline, but it still does something. And they can just play this Borrower out as well. That's why I didn't want us to discard it, because it's probably going to be their main threat. We're going to need to find a way of getting into this game. Is casting this Leyline in the Void useful to us at the cost of a Dark Ritual? I don't think it is. I think Duress does a very similar job. Right, there's a Daze and a Dark Ritual. I think we take the Dark Ritual. That makes it harder for them to put a bunch of Phoenixes into play. I don't think I'm going to spend my Thoughtseize on their Daze. They're going to put the Borrow into play, and then we've got a clock now. So there's a 6-turn clock. We need to find a Painter. We need to find a Mirror. We need to find a way through this Daze, which we can do if we have to. We can Thoughtseize and then throw out some more bits and pieces. As a Borrower, we definitely aren't going to be slow-milling our opponent's deck, because I'm pretty sure the cards they've shown us only exist in Phoenix now, which is a cool deck that I will play on the channel at some point. A few people have been putting up some 5-0s with it, I think. So, all right. Down to 15, and it's going to be our turn. Can we draw something useful? A Lion's Eye Diamond is not unhelpful. I think we leave it in hand for now. Do we need to Thoughtseize away this Daze? It doesn't change the clock yet. Interesting. I think we will fire it off now, though. So if they got 4... Okay, they just got 2 Dazes. Understood. Sure. We'll pass. We don't really have anything that deals damage to us apart from the Thoughtseize. So it's not going to impact the spells we can play, but it does mean if they find a channeler, they can take 1 turn off the clock. Another Leyline. Again, I don't think we're just throwing this out there. I think we're just passing and taking some more attacks. We just need a little bit more. Buried Alive. Yep. So they're going to put 3 Phoenixes in the graveyard. And they're going to Daze their own. Alright, they got another Daze. Alright, so they drew another Daze. So now they're double dazing, so they will get all these Phoenixes back right now and they will kill us. So I was taking a line to play to win. And our opponent has found a line that we could have avoided if we played to not lose. But then how are we winning the game at that point? It becomes a little bit more difficult. I guess we can still... We're probably having to crack an LED. Yeah, I think we could have won this one. We would need to find a Painter though. Alright, we're not winning that game. Okay. I I'm a little bit more interested in these One Rings and this Helm and these. The Sheoldred is interesting too. Fatal Push is less useful. I'm not really big into Dismember here. Interesting. Interesting. We don't really want to be Thoughtseizing ourselves in this matchup. We want to be Duressing more than we do Thoughtseizing. Like, the damage is kind of a big deal. So I think we'll take those out. We'll do kind of like... I think we are faster than our opponent most of the time, though. Sure. We'll try like this. So we have 2 Leylines and a Duress. And we can start making Urza Saga tokens. Pretty sharpish. Okay, I think we'll keep this. Again, it's not really filling me with a great amount of joy, but I think it's fine. We will put both in. Stress doesn't hit everything our opponent has. Are we supposed to play out the Saga and crank some constructs? I don't think so. This way, if we draw a land, then we don't have to sacrifice our petal. Okay, what are these cards? Preordain, Brainstorm, Pyroblast. So Pyroblast doesn't do anything here. So we're definitely not taking that. Brainstorm is pretty good with fetch lands. Kind of cleans up their hand a bunch. I think that's the obvious take here. Pyroblast is something they can just cast targeting anything. So it can be just one of their 3 spells to trigger the Buried Alive. But Buried Alive is going to be a bit difficult to work out here. So here we're going to see the Preordain. How many are you going to put on the bottom? Not a fan of having this guy as well in our hand though. Scry's 2 top. Wowzers trousers. Okay, it's pretty good. Right, so there's the land like we said we wanted. This ticks up. We'll pass. We should have played the Petal out there. Because if we have to pay 1 mana, then for a daze, we don't get our Petal there. It's actually kind of a big deal. Right, so Ponder was one of the cards I left on top. That makes sense. That's a good card that lets you dig deeper into your library. They shuffle their library. That's good news. We can get another piece of Graveyard Hate here as well. Stop their wombo combos. Right, so play a Swamp out. Let's try a Lotus Petal. Would you like? Okay, they don't care about days in that one. Do I put this Mox Opal into a potential Meltdown? That's interesting. I think we hold the Mox this turn and just make some guys because they won't know necessarily how big they're going to be, and then we can play this next turn. And you never know, we might draw something that makes us want to do some sort of storm line. Right, there's the snow-covered land. Right, we are a fair beatdown deck now. Like, playing this wouldn't have made this dodge a bolt anyway. That is interesting. We've got Dress down here. They're cracking their polluted delta. They are lightning bolt, yeah. So they always had a way of playing around this. What are we going to tutor for here? So do we just want more defense against what our opponent's doing, or do you want like a Lion's Eye Diamond to go with this Infernal Tutor we're enjoying? I think we're going to take the LED. And we can't bash now. I don't think there's any point of trying to do an LED line just yet. We do play this out because it plays around Lightning Bolts. Obviously not great into Meltdown. Our opponent could have dazed that, but it does set them back. So next turn we can go and get Helm of Obedience and try and kill that way. But our opponent has a lot of unknowns in their hand right now. So I'm a little bit scared to just throw all our chips down and hope for the best. Especially when we have the pressure. Dark Ritual's pretty nice. Let's attack. Our opponent's combo doesn't kill us in 1 turn. So we can kind of just sit where we are. And we've got a hand that can put a win on the board, but we might be able to find a piece of hand disruption first to check that the coast is clear. We've obviously got this daze we have to pay around, but that's not going to be a problem because mana is something we got in abundance. But if we sacrifice all of our stuff and it gets countered, then our creature's going to be smaller and we're not really going to have any pressure, and then our opponent can try and rebuild. That's interesting. That is interesting. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 8. So we have lethal next turn with a Tendrils kill. That's kind of interesting. And that doesn't really cost us as much either. But again, I didn't want to fire off the Infernal Tutor in case we need to try and actually win the game without any creatures in play. So attack for 4. Taps for black. Let's see what they do here. Let's reveal a Dark Ritual. Let's cast Dark Ritual. Cast Dark Ritual. So Storm is going to be lethal here. And we got some mana to pay around, some soft permission. Alright, we got the match. Yeah, pretty happy about that. Our sideboard ley lines feel pretty good here. They did have a strange game 1 hand, which I think must have been like 1 land away from being bananas. I think that's why they kept it like it was 1 land away from just doing the thing. And they didn't quite get there. Alright, let's go to round 3. This hand seems pretty good. Turn 1 Grindstone. Turn 2 we have 3 mana, which gets us Infernal Tutor with 1 floating. We crack this, and that's 4 mana total. So we're 1 mana away from Painter. Not bad. 1 mana away from the Painter kill. I will take that. We lead out on the swamp so that we're a little bit insulated against Wasteland. Hope our opponent... Okay. Playing a blue-black deck. All the disruption colours. Okay. Beseech the Mirror is not bad. Let's play Lotus Petal. Helps us play around days. Let's play Grindstone. Pass. I don't think we need to play out the Lines Like Diamond just yet. We might end up going into some sort of Tendrils kill. They did not flip. Okay. What does that mean for us? I haven't played a land yet, but that doesn't mean they don't have one. And then the second main, they got a land here. A Ponder. So they must have drawn a creature or possibly a Mishra's Bauble. Pretty much everything else. Okay, so now they found a land and a Dragon's Rage Channeler. So the clock is certainly mounting up. They didn't shuffle their library, so this is going to be attacking us for 3 next turn. A Lion's Eye Diamond. That is some stuff right there. If we go all in for this, we do just lose the game immediately if they have a counterspell. Don't want to just be dead to Force of Will. So Vault of Whispers. Let's play the Lion's Eye Diamond. Okay, they're just allowing that. Interesting. If we try an Infernal Tutor this turn to bait out a counterspell, I don't hate that. The Fair Infernal Tutor. Okay. Let's get another LED. Play an LED. Okay, so we certainly have some manas here. They know we have 1 LED in hand. I think it's better in play than it is in our hand. Okay. So if we find a land, we can try a Beseech the Mirror. If that doesn't work, then we have the Infernal Tutor. I believe we will have enough turns to have 2 more turns in this game. So we can try these plays. Right, Brainstorm is the card they revealed. Pretty good one. And kind of shows us that they could have any possibilities in their hand. Right, there goes the Brainstorm. They surveilled a Bowmasters to try and get Delirium. Creatures, one of the harder ones to put in usually. Instants and lands are the easiest. Got Scalding Tarn. They're immediately cracking their Scalding Tarn to shuffle away what they've just brainstormed on top. This gives them Delirium, so they're going to be bashing for 6 this turn. Next turn they'll bash us for 6 again. And the turn after, they will probably kill us with some sort of Lightning Bolt or additional burn spell. Okay, we need to do something here. An Urza Saga is pretty reasonable. Now, if we cast a Beseech the Mirror and they daze it, and we try and pay with a Lion's Eye Diamond, we will lose to a Force of Will, but we play around a daze. If we cast this Infernal Tutor and we sacrifice a Lion's Eye Diamond, it's the same deal, but we lose less permanence. Both play around days. Interesting. Right, let's cast this. I'll crack this for triple black. Let's see if this works or not. A Brainstorm. They don't have the answer in hand. That's exciting for me. Unless they do have the answer in hand, they're just trying to find a better card to pitch to it, which is worse for us. They put 1 card on top of their library, so I'm pretty sure they're going to have an answer to this. There is the Force of Will, pitching a daze. Are we supposed to Grindstone ourselves? What use does that get us? 0. Are we supposed to Grindstone our opponent with this leftover mana? Not really. It'll fuel things like Murktides, so we just pass. But we can make some constructs next turn, but that might be too little too late. But we could possibly buy ourselves 1 turn with a Shadowspear hit, because they will be quite large. But this is going to put us down to 7. Next turn we'll go down to 1. So if they have a burn spell, we will lose. Okay, the Wasteland means we don't have to worry about constructs. That's just not a thing we get to do. Painter's Servant off the top is good. The 1 ring. We are 1 mana shy of casting the 1 ring. Lion's Eye Diamond is not Black Lotus, thankfully. I think it would be not very good to have Black Lotus in the format. But right now, I wish it was one. Alright, have they got a burn spell to finish this off here? Doing in our upkeep. Sure. Okay, a little bit awkward there. So we have some options of how we want to approach this game. We can do some Leyline action to slow our opponent down. Apologies if you can hear fireworks. Somebody's letting some off, even though I'm recording this on the 28th of December. All right, we've got some hand disruption I quite like. I don't really want to be jamming Thoughtseizes, do I? I don't feel like where I want to be against Delver. Sheoldred is quite a nice little one-off to hit here. And the Inquisitions are better than Thoughtseizes because we didn't lose life. Something like this. How does that look? Fatal Push is nice. I don't really like Dismember here, though. I think this is better than trying to do the Leyline plan, because what happens there is you do that and they just immediately play a Delver instead, and then you kind of have this card that's not doing anything. I do still like Soul Guide, though. I'm going to keep in maximum combo pieces and just roll like this. We're on the play. Our hand doesn't really go anywhere. We'd kind of be all in on this Saga to do some work. We do have a little bit of disruption. I think we can mulligan this for some action. That's some action. We've got some disruption. Into Servant, into Mirror. I think this is okay. What do we throw back here? It's probably the Mox. Because I think we will want to have some hand disruption here. Because we're going to be trying to resolve Beseech the Mirror. Our opponent's mulligan to 5 cards, which makes this hand disruption a bit nicer. That's what you're working with opponent. And if this ruins your day. Have you kept like an Island Ponder? No. You've got a Force of Will. I will take that. That's harder to play around than a Daze. And I think we play this out now, so we don't have to worry about Daze on a later turn. So next time we can play the Servant. Our opponent could have something like a Snuff Out in their deck. That's certainly a possibility. Okay, so I will play the Swamp Out. I will deploy our Painted Servant. So we'll name black for the purposes of Snuff Out. And you know, we are Painted Black Mirror at the end of the day. Am I more worried about hand disruption? Or I think I'm going to keep this Lion's Eye Diamond in hand so that we can play it and then pay around a Daze with lands instead of our Lotus Petal. There is a Bauble, which looks very nice in black. They're looking at the top card of their own library. Right, so now we're seeing the Brainstorm. Which just kind of makes their Brainstorm dig one deeper because they got to see the top card before they start digging. And because this game is looking like it could be over in the very near future, they're definitely looking for business right now. There's a scoring time. You can start bashing for 3. For 1, sorry, not 3. Vault of Whispers is an actively great draw for us. About this Lion's Eye Diamond. We have a Daze that we know we need to try and beat, though. So if we put a Beseech the Mirror on the stack now, they will cast Daze. We will pay with Lion's Eye Diamond. That will leave us with only 2 lands in play, so we'll need to rip a mana source to win the game. But if we don't do this, that'll also expose us to Meltdown. But if we don't play Beseech the Mirror, then what happens? I think we can afford to wait another turn and play around Daze. So I think if we play them Beseech now, we're left with a lot fewer resources. They can basically pop all of our resources without needing them. Their Daze becomes kind of like a Meltdown. Yeah, okay, so then they got a Bolt as well anyway, so I'm glad we're not tunneling into that one so much. So now we have a pretty nice Gaia's Will line. I would just like a little bit of mana to pay around this Daze. Dark Ritual would be pretty reasonable. An Infernal Tutor. What does that do for us? Not a great amount of anything. So if we cast this Beseech and we sack this in response, this can go and get us a Gaia's Will, which then brings this back, and this back, as well as Painted Servant, another Beseech. So this is good. If we're just playing around Daze, this is fine. So I think we go for it here. Cast with Bargain. I don't think we're popping this. Are we popping this Lion's Eye Diamond in response? I guess we see if the Beseech resolves first. And then we can decide if we want this tutor in our graveyard or not. A Daze. Okay, so now we are popping this for triple black. Okay, so we can go and get Gaia's Will here. They've helped our Storm count if that's the thing we want to do. A little bit exposed to Graveyard Hate, but this Murktide is going to clock us pretty fast. We'll play this out. Storm 4. Storm 5. So this will be 6, 7, 6. So can we? I'm just trying to work out if we can. Yeah, we can. We can duress our opponent as well. They have nothing. Okay. So we crack this for triple black. And this as well. We go and cast an Infernal Tutor. We go get Lion's Eye Diamond. Play Lion's Eye Diamond. Crack this for triple black. Cast this Beseech with Bargain. Sacrificing our Vault of Whispers. Go and get the Tendrils of Agony. There it is. Cast this target our opponent. And that's a Storm Kill. Okay. I think... Are we supposed to do things differently on the draw? Are we more inclined to have things like the Leyline plan? It just doesn't feel good. I think I do prefer having these like one rings to sort of grind some value. And this is something I wanted to test today, so let's test it. We also do have the let's just make a turn one Sheoldred, which is a play we can do, which is very good in this matchup. Because they basically have to get Unholy Heat to kill it. I guess I can borrow it as well. But, you know, we get to replay it. So I need to have borrow and another counter spell ready for when we put it back on the stack. And in the meantime, it buys us a lot of time and a lot of space in the game because we're going to be getting a load of life off of it. Disruption into Painted Servant, sacrificing stuff. This is fine, but it's not very impressive. We could turn 1 Dark Ritual, Painted Servant, Duress. Turn 2, doing nothing. So that doesn't seem like a great play. I think this is okay. Like, having 2 basics has definitely persuaded me to keep this hand. Because at least we're not exposed to Wasteland. Alright, they've got a little friend. Cabal Therapy could be quite potent here. I'm not going to burn my Dark Ritual to do this. Force of Negation, Brainstorm, Stifle. Interesting. Very interesting. I guess we take the Force of Negation here. So this looks like the Grixis build that was in the top 8 of... Obviously, you know, it's going to be a little bit different, but it's inspired by the one that was in the top 8 of the North American European Legacy... not European Legacy, the Eternal Weekend. We got there in the end. The Eternal Weekend North America, because I had 2 Stifles, I think, in the deck. People have been playing like one-off Stifle effects a little bit lately, which is just an interesting way of gaming people a little bit. Alright, they put a creature in, so they're going to have 3/3s now. So we're going to need to be pretty proactive on trying to kill our opponent at this point onwards. The Stifle is definitely a thing we might have to worry about. But we know 2 of our opponent's cards. And they put all their cards into the bottom with their surveilling. Or into their graveyard, sorry. Okay. How does this change things? Play this out and play this out. That's 3 mana, 4/5. What could we do for 5 mana? We could deploy a Sheoldred. That's not very exciting. We could cast the One Ring. That is pretty exciting. Quite like casting the One Ring here. What does it cost us to do that though? A Lotus Petal and a Dark Ritual. Can we play this around a daze? No. If we can't play it around days, are we supposed to just jam this Painted Servant instead? If we play Painted Servant now, next turn we have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 mana for a Beseech, which also isn't enough. Maybe it is. I think we are supposed to just jam the One Ring here. We don't get to play around days, but they are taking cards off their library basically at random at this point. So, alright, let's go for this. I don't think there's a Gaia's Will line here that works. They did have a daze. Okay. That's pretty terrible news for us. So the one card they drew, it obviously wasn't that random because they were getting rid of cards, but it was an unknown card they were drawing that turn. Alright, and we were 1 mana shy. The other line of playing the Painter there still doesn't feel great either. I guess we could have Therapied, but that doesn't feel great either. A lot of things not feeling amazing right now. Our opponent had a pretty potent Delvery start. All these channelers all up in our business. Yeah, so this is going to put us to 11. So we get this turn, we get 1 more turn. So we're going to need to string some things together. Alright, let's play this guy. I'm in black so we can't get snuffed out. Can get lightning bolted. This is also an artifact to sack to Beseech if that's the thing we need to do. So we're going to take 6 here. Something like a Soul Guide Lantern can buy us a bit more time. An Infernal Tutor. None of this does anything here. I just want to have a look at our opponent's hand to see if they've got anything cool going on. Alright, that's the match. I just want a little peek quickly to see if our opponent had any cool tech. Anything new they're playing in their deck. But it took ages for this Cabal Therapy to resolve, so it's not worth that time. Alright. We are sadly 1 and 2, but 2 more rounds to go. We can still get a positive record. Let's keep jamming. Alright, we've won a die roll. But our opening hand is not playing ball. Let's mulligan this one. Nope. This one doesn't do anything either. We're on a 5. 1 mana. So if we keep this, throw back the Thoughtseize. If we keep this, 1, 2, 3. That's 3 mana. 4, 5. We can Beseech. Does this win us the game then? So we have 3 here. This goes away. So that's Storm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we just do the exact same line again. So we play all these out and this into Beseech. So yes, this is a turn 1 kill, I believe. Now I'm no Brian Cook, so my maths might be off here. But I think we're okay. Obviously our opponent can counterspell this, and it will suck. Let's cast this, start ritual. So black. Let's bargain this. We'll see if this resolves. If this gets Gaia's Will, we put Gaia's Will on the stack. And then we crack this for black. This is Lethal Storm. And they have the counterspell now. They kind of shadow realm us in a big way. Right, let's play a Lotus Petal. And a Lotus Petal. And a Mox. If this doesn't resolve, we can still win. But I think if they had a counterspell, they probably would have fired it off by now. It's going to get Tendrils of Agony. Alright, point them at our opponent's face. This is the game. Unless we're against some main deck Mindbreak Trap gamer. Alright. Don't really know what our opponent's doing. Can't really sideboard for anything. I guess we just bundle in again. And rely on the fact that our deck's quite powerful what it does. Sure. I think if we sideboard here, we just make our deck worse most of the time. So we roll in. Maybe we don't have the tool we want, but okay, this has mana but needs a payoff. I think we are supposed to find payoffs rather than mana though. So I think let's mulligan. Okay, yeah, I like hands with the 1 ring in for sure. I don't think we need the Lion's Eye Diamond yet. I think our plan is turn 1 Duress, turn 2 the 1 ring, and profit. Like, that should win games. An Ancient Tomb Gamer over there. Is this going to be a Chalice of the Void? Oh no, not. They're also in the combo town. Alright, our opponent looks like they're on some sort of Mystic Forge style deck, or could be the Tony Scaponi Paradoxical Outcome. Alright, they're making some mana. They're untapping their Monolith, making some more mana. Let's see how bad this is for us. Yeah, so Mystic Forge as predicted. So our 1 ring looks a lot worse in the face of this, because it's going to be too long before we can get the advantage we need from it. We've got 2 cards in hand. Right, so we've got Leyline in the Void and Exile, so that's one of the things they're playing. It's good to know. Would like some more mana, but it's not really a thing we have the option for here. So we're going to dress our opponent and hope that they've got something that we can take. No. It was a bit of a long shot. So next turn, we can Beseech, but what does that get us? Nothing very exciting. We're going to need some help. Right, there's one of the, that's the Saga we knew about that our opponent had. Mesmeric Orb in exile as well. Interesting they chose to exile the Mesmeric Orb when that can just get you any card you want, basically. Because you can sort of tap and untap it. You might just untap impermanents and stuff, so you can kind of just keep going. We should be losing the game this turn, but it might take a little while. So I'm going to cut to when something interesting happens. So, oh, something interesting has just happened as soon as I said that. Okay, a Khan. So this can go and get them the Aetherflux Reservoir right now. Or they can just lock us out with a Lattice. That's also fine. We're not beating either. So Let's see what they go for here. There's the Lattice. They're just going to put the Lattice into play. We don't get to play any permanents. They just bash us with the 6/6. Well, we can play permanents. They don't do anything. All right. So now we know what our opponent's doing. How does that impact things? Let's have a look what options we have. Not really great options here. They didn't show us any of the blue stuff. I don't think they're running like Echo Vions type jam. That doesn't seem a thing. The One Ring is way too slow here. So I think we'll just have a little bit more hand disruption and kind of go back in again. Do we need a Soulguide Lantern? Do we just want more ways of killing our opponent? Is that weird? Do you want something like a Sheoldred to find? Jam that and play. Something that can pressure Khan. This doesn't kill Planeswalkers, it's creatures and enchantments, isn't it? Yeah, so that's not going to help us out here. Yeah, I don't think we have any more tools for this other than trying to go faster. But we know that they are unlikely to interact with us too much. What does this hand do? Nothing. Let's mulligan it. What does this hand do? It's got some mana but nowhere to go. We could turn 1 Thoughtseize, turn 2 Duress, turn 3 Cabal Therapy, and then what, right? We've got mana, we've stopped our opponent. I think our best line is to go faster rather than try and be the control. They have a lot of redundancy in their deck. But I guess if we can nail like the big things, if we keep this, we're going to be relying on our... We got 3 mana to start the game with, so we're quite close to being able to do some good stuff. How am I really thinking about keeping this just to mess our opponent's hand up? They could have something like a Leyline. I think we're just supposed to be the aggressor here and go fast. Okay, so this hand plays. So we have Grindstone, LED, Mox, Infernal Tutor. We don't get to keep all of these, which is a shame. If we get rid of a land, like we definitely need to duress our opponent on turn 1. That's for sure. So I mean we don't need the Mox. And maybe the land goes? Is that crazy? So then all we're trying to draw into is more mana sources, the most abundant thing in our deck. Yep, I like that. So we go turn 1 Duress, turn 2 Grindstone, maybe turn 3 Painter, kill them. That's kind of the line that we like. Leyline of the Void. Sure, we get to ignore this with our Painter kill. And they've mulliganed very low for this. Alright, so let's duress our opponent here. Let's see what they're working with. Oh, they are an Echo Vions deck. Interesting. We can take that only blue mana, so this is kind of a pipe dream. Or we can take this, which accelerates them. This is +1 mana, but they can bank it for a turn and make it plus more mana. This is their only access to blue mana, so I think we're probably going to get rid of the access to blue mana. Cut them off with their zeros. Like, we don't need much to win this game. Right, there's the Ancient Tomb. We're going to see the Grim Monolith here. Sure. You got a follow-up as well? I do not. Alright. So any mana source off the top will win us the game next turn, which is nice. Maybe we're supposed to play out this Lion's Eye Diamond in case our opponent echoes. That might be smart. But then if they can't and plus, that's bad for us. Well, if they play Khan, we're just dead anyway. Did they draw Khan? They didn't. They drew a Monolith. Oh no, what is this? Oh, don't do it to me. We don't even get to beat that because they had the Monolith. We get to delay it for 1 turn. But yeah, this is absolutely disaster town for us. So they're going to go and get a Lion's Eye Diamond here, and then they're going to spin the wheel on the Echo, I believe. Our cards will go into exile. Oh no, they're just getting Liquid Metal Coating. So they're just going to start destroying all of our permanents next turn. Well, that's a bit rude. Yeah. So that's basically the one draw in their deck that we didn't want to see. However, we still can't win because of this Khan. Is there anything else we can do about this? Actually, no, this doesn't tap for mana, does it? That kind of knackers us there. Yikes. Let's let them know how close they came. So annoying. Right, I think we are just dead here to the Khan. Yeah, we had it. We just needed it to not be the Khan off the top of the deck. Like, the reason we stopped the Echo line from being something they could possibly do was because we didn't want them to get a reload and draw the 1 card that ruins us. So sometimes they have it, sometimes they don't. And that was just an unlucky one for us there. Let's go to round 5 to see if we can put the 2-3 on the board. Our hand doesn't quite play. I think we can do better. Well, this has got some stuff going on, hasn't it? Let me take a minute to process this one. So we can go Turn 1, the One Ring. Alright. That alone is worth keeping a hand for. Let me throw back an opal here. I'm going to play a blue source. Okay, Seat of Traitors. Mox. They're going to play a goblin here. I feel they're going to play goblins. Alright, goblins something. War Chief. That's a Rabble Master. Okay, that is definitely a thing that we have to worry about. But hopefully this One Ring can get us there, because we already have half of our combo. A Mox Opal, you say? Let's play a Mox Opal. An LED. A Lotus Petal. Tap this for black. Cast a Dark Ritual. I don't really want to crack this Lotus Petal. So we're going to play out this Mox Opal. Keep this one. Tap this for black. Cast the One Ring. Be safe for a turn. Draw a card. Play a land. Play a Grindstone. Pass. Not a bad turn. Alright. Another Rabble Master. They still get the goblins. They have to attack. They can't deal us damage. But this will certainly mount up. We're looking for like tutors. We're looking for all sorts. I need to work out how much damage this is as well to work out if I need to crack the LED before I draw off the One Ring. That's a lot of mana. So this is 2, 4. So if we count each of these as 3, so 3, 6, 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So that is lethal damage. Understood. So we will crack this for triple black. Do we need to crack another one? I don't think so. I'd rather have the option of doing some Infernal Tutoring. A Lion's Eye Diamond. That's not going to get us there, is it? And we'll pass because our opponent's going to kill us next turn. Right. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Yeah, that's lethal. Alright. The turn 1, One Ring didn't quite get us where we needed to go. Alright. I think some Fatal Pushes are probably going to be helpful here. I think maybe Dismember. Well, that's a lot of life we're pushing into that, so I'm less into that one. We want the Fatal Push. Inquisition's probably pretty reasonable here. Thoughtseize can hit Muxus, but it's the thing that ramp into Muxus that we're most worried about. I guess I have one Feed the Swarm because we might need to blow up some sort of Leyline type thing. Sheoldred is reasonable, but they do just go wide around it relatively easily. So I think we're going to submit like this. I'm not feeling happy about this. I think this Goblin deck is super good. What does this hand do? 1 mana, 2 mana, nothing. Alright. What does this hand do? 1 mana, 2 mana. Next turn we have 5 mana. So we just need to find 2 mana and we can kill on turn 3. Okay, I'm down for that. I guess we throw back one of the mirrors. So done. Don't think we're playing out the Vault of Whispers on turn 1. Our opponent doesn't have much removal. It's basically just the Broadside Bombardiers. So turn 2 we do the Servant, and then hopefully we can find some mana, and then turn 3 kill them. No turn 1 play from our opponent. That is excellent news for us. Beseech the Mirror. Let's put this, and we're going to put this on black, because why not? I don't want to put it on red and help them with Fury counts or anything, or make their Chrome Moxes better. I have to put a Null Rod, you say. Pretty good. Not the end of the world, but not ideal for us. So if we... What do we Beseech the Mirror for in this situation? So we can Beseech right now. What would that get us? Fat load and nothing. I think we Infernal Tutor for Dark Ritual here. We can try a Gaia's Will line if we can get a little bit more mana underneath us. There is a Chrome Mox. Looks very nice and black. How bad is this turn going to be for us? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is this? Mirror. Mindbreak Trap. Okay. Our opponent has just gone full prison-y. I had the read that they were goblins, but I think they were mono red prison. Not that we really get to do anything differently either way. But oh, we can't even cast our Lines of Diamond, can we? We didn't board in the Sheoldred here. If I thought they were mono red prison, I would have boarded in the Sheoldred. Yeah, we are on the terrible creature beatdown plan. Definitely feels awkward. Like, their first threat is probably lights out for us. We do have Urza Saga though, and until they get a Blood Moon, that will be good. We can't cast this because we can't cast anything due to the Trinisphere. Urza Saga. This is definitely one of the matchups where Urza Saga beatdown can do some work. Provided you don't get... Yeah, they have the Goblin War Chief though, so they are... You know, they are on the Goblin plan. We did see that game 1. Right, there's another spell we can't cast. If this Trinisphere wasn't there, we could have beat that. Like, we could have beaten Null Rod or Trinisphere, I think. But I don't think we can beat both. Alright, feels like we're about to get Muxus right into the bin. See what this man finds to smash us down with. Bombardier, yeah, that's lethal. GG, opponent. Yeah, that's us toast there. Whoa, that was savage. So yeah, that's the end of the league, and we finished with a not great 1-4. Now, 3 of our losses were ones where we picked up a game, so it's not as if we were just getting completely bopped all the time. We were always like close, but some of the things we were facing were a little bit hard to beat through. Let's talk about the deck. So as that last round indicated, artifacts can be a little bit tricky for us. Now, the idea of having this whole Urza Saga plan, as well as Gaea's Will line, as well as the Painter, the idea of having all of those things together means that we're supposed to be able to wriggle our way through hate pieces. And, you know, we could have beaten Trinisphere. We could have beaten Null Rod. Either of those would have been things we could have done. However, we just couldn't quite get there because we didn't have the tools. Like, Urza Saga was kind of the way we try and beat both. I guess the one line we could have done when they played the Null Rod, and we had the chance to Beseech the Mirror, we could have beseeched for a 1-ring. But that's not really going to do much into the Null Rod. It's just going to buy us a turn of not being damaged if they had any haste threats, which they didn't. So ignore me, that wouldn't have done anything. Yeah, but if I'd have thought they were more prisony, maybe I board in the Sheoldred. But that's a lot of hate that I'm not really expecting to see out of the Goblins. Normally, their sideboards are things like Furies. Like, they had the Mindbreak Trap as well as the 2 pieces of hate as well. So they just had a very hateful sideboard. But I guess it makes sense because the Goblins deck is just so inherently strong that they can just kind of throw all their guys out there and smash people down. And that's going to win a lot of their matchups. And the matchups they're not winning are generally going to be the ones that are clocking them with like broken combo stuff. So just having a sideboard dedicated to ruining that is just really strong. Because like the Goblins deck beats other Stompy decks very easily. So it kind of is a real Swiss Army knife. I think it is a legitimate tier 1 deck to have a Muxus right now. And it's something you should be very afraid of. And it certainly bopped us there. I think we could beat their aggro draws a lot of the time. We were very unlucky to not hit anything with our 1-ring. I say very unlucky. We had, what, 12 outs to hit with our 1-ring that gets us there. Tendrils of Agony would have bought us another turn. So, yeah, we were drawing 2 cards. Well, we had 3 cards to draw on that turn with a 12 outer on each one. So, yeah, maybe the odds were a little bit against us, but not by much. You know, it was pretty reasonable to have that line to win the game with. Yeah. So the deck obviously didn't perform very well overall in terms of record, and there's a few reasons for that. Inherently, our deck is a little bit fragile to certain things because we are like A plus B, and sometimes we're not going to have A plus B. We're just going to have a bunch of A's. You know, we'll have the grindstone. But we've tried to mitigate that by having like the whole Gaea's Will line is just very, very small in terms of the package it takes up. It's like basically 2 cards. But what I will say is Infernal Tutor, we had a few instances where it just didn't look good. Now, we could change that for something like a Wishclaw Talisman, but that puts us even colder to effects like Null Rod, and it is more expensive to get it doing its thing, and your opponent gets to tutor. And we're sometimes a deck that wants to play our combo and say, all right, you have a turn, can you answer it? If not, we're going to kill you when we untap and have the mana to activate our Grindstone. So I don't think we run Wishclaw Talisman, but maybe we're not supposed to be an Infernal Tutor deck. But that seems wild, considering, you know, we've got these lines like Diamonds and all these Dark Rituals, and we did, you know, show that we could do Dark Ritual, Infernal Tutor lines to win the game. So, yeah, I'm not really sure. I may have been the person who built this deck originally, but there are people out there who have been playing this deck more than me now, a lot more than me, so they're probably better people to listen to. So any of you lovely people who are watching, please, you know, let me know your thoughts in the comments, any changes, any things you've noticed, because this is something I'd like to come back to every now and then. I quite like painter strategies. I like being able to fold in multiple strategies together. We never really got to do the Urza Saga thing, although Urza Saga isn't as good as it once was. People are much better at playing against it. They're much more prepared to play against it. And you can't just play Saga and win a game off it like you used to be able to once upon a time. Now, we do have a lot of artifacts, so we can just get there with them. But it is a bit of a different beast to what it once was. I'm not sure what I would replace these Infernal Tutors with. Yeah, I'm just going to have a think about this one. The weakness in this deck to artifacts is definitely a thing. Now, you could try and splash. Now, obviously, we've got Lotus Petals and Mox Opals, which help splash, but they don't help splash under Null Rod, which is basically the main thing we're trying to get rid of. So I'm not really sure. All right, I'm going to keep pondering over this one, and maybe we'll come back to it in a few weeks or a few months or whatever. I'll see what some other people have to say about this one, because this is not really my field of expertise in deck building. But a lot of people like it, so let's see if they've got some ideas that we can implement. I think we were unlucky to finish 1-4 today. Like, our opponent drawing the Khan, the one turn they had to draw the Khan, was pretty unfortunate for us, for example. And our opponent having exactly double Rabblemaster, meaning that we don't get one more turn with the One Ring, was kind of annoying. Like, there's lots of ways that we kind of were just on the wrong side of it a little bit. But we did also have some clunky stuff where we kind of deserved to lose. We mulliganed quite hard because our hands didn't really do anything. And there's some inherent weaknesses there. So maybe people who are better with Storm, better with, you know, these sorts of artifact-heavy decks like this can give you some pointers. I'm always interested to hear back from you. And thank you very much for watching. I think I'm done for today. So like, subscribe, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget Turbodepths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low-cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed Turbodepths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.